Hey guys, back for part 5 of our programming slash examples of daily undulating periodization series here. This will probably be the last video where I will go over week 1 of our strength and power phase and then just kind of do a review of concepts themselves. So you can see here in our strength and power phase, we're following the same weekly outline where we have maybe our higher reps, more hypertrophy volume type work as you have it in the beginning of the week, power in the middle, and then finishing with our strength or highest intensity down here. And then we'd also have a rest day here Sunday as well. So you can see that as we are in a strength power phase, the characteristics of it are going to be lower volume, higher intensity. We're really working for our max weights here. Potentially after this, we'd have a peaking phase. The structure of the week is similar in terms of the strength phase, where we've kind of consolidated most of the movements to certain days and really are trying to think about fatigue management, especially around the back squat and deadlift, as those two seem to affect each other the most. We're squatting around 3 times a week, deadlifting twice per week, and doing a bench press or a variation around 2 to 4 times, or in this case, 4 times per week. So again, not much to add here in terms of from the hypertrophy phase to the strength phase to the power phase, except that now we're doing less volume, higher intensities. We are still trying to manage fatigue as best we can, and knowing that a lot of these things that are in here you could change based on your strengths and weaknesses. So for example, you may not do a pause squat because you're very good out of the bottom, but you get stuck right around parallel. You may want to do some quarter squats to pins to really strengthen that position. You may have a strong back, so may not need rack pulls to finish that end range of motion. Rather, you may be weak off the floor, so could use some deficits. A lot of this can change, and actually the times or amount of weeks that you're squatting, benching, or deadlifting could change as well based on your characteristics of recovery. So your recoverable volumes, maybe you can't squat 3 times a week because that leads to some knee injury, but twice per week. Maybe you can't do a deadlift variation and a deadlift twice per week. You can only do 1 deadlift because you're so strong. A lot of that would depend on your training age. So beginner intermediate can usually do higher frequencies, whereas if pretty advanced athletes, especially in men, women can usually do higher frequencies in general, but especially men, they may only be able to deadlift once a week, back squat more of that 1 to 2 times a week. So then a general overview of going back through, or the main points that I really think that you guys should get is that, structure of hypertrophy or higher volume power strength across a week, as the power seems to potentiate that strength phase and the higher volume is the most fatiguing or damage inducing. So having that in the beginning of the week for recovery is really important. The idea that we are going from highest volumes to highest intensities across the phases here, and that each phase also potentiates each other. So the hypertrophy phase brings up work capacity, increases cross-sectional area in the muscle, which then allows you to get stronger, allows you to handle higher volumes of strength, and then in turn, that leads to higher max strength or power as you have it. And then what's really cool, as you go back to this hypertrophy, you might not be able to handle the highest volumes right away, but because now you're probably a couple of months away from hypertrophy, you're very sensitive to this work again. So you go back and not only are you stronger, so you can probably do more weight, but now you're very sensitized to hypertrophy work, so you get a very robust response, and then you just go back through this whole structure again. The other idea that I think is important is that in the beginning in hypertrophy here, that you can kind of spread it across the week in terms of not being able to do your highest output. So Here, remember, we can kind of have some crossover from day to day because volume is the biggest driver. But here, as we work down, we really want to consolidate the stresses to the day that they occurred, so that way that when we see them, we can put our max effort back in. So the example of that was kind of like you could have the walking lunge and then the stiff leg deadlift, so that's 2 leg pieces. Whereas if down here, we kind of really consolidated many of the lower bodies to a single day for recovery purposes. So again, that really covers a very basic outline of programming and DUP. Again, I really want to reiterate that a lot of these things can change based on your strengths and weaknesses, based on the goal that you have, based on your training age, your gender, your nutrition, your stress in your life, et cetera, et cetera. But this is just a simple outline to give you kind of, an example of those main priorities or main strategies that I really wanted you to be able to think about. And you can make this a lot more flexible and fixed to your goals. Now, for a lot of the movements that I chose, you could certainly change them, as I said. You could make them Olympic lifts to an extent. Obviously, that would change some of the weights. You could add in some, or not weights, the reps and sets, percentages, so on. You may not be using RP. You could add in some conditioning and things like that. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this structure here, and be on the lookout for more videos in the future. See ya.